That morning, I nearly spit out my coffee all over the porch. There it was, bolted into the ground like some ugly scar, a shiny aluminum sign screaming in bold red letters. No fishing. HOA Rule 14.7b. On my lake. My lake. The same water fed by a spring that's run behind my house for 30 years, the lake I grew up casting lines into with my dad, the place I still retreat to every Saturday morning just to breathe. And now, some board of wannabe dictators had decided to slap their logo on it and claim authority. I didn't even need to ask who was behind it. Darlene Overby, president of the Willow Creek HOA Queen of Pastel Cardigans and Fake Smiles. A Karen in full form. The kind of person who called the cops on kids selling lemonade but framed it as concern for community safety. I could practically hear her nasal tone when I read that sign like a smoke alarm that never shuts off. I marched right back to my house, grabbed the property map, and laid it across the table. There was no question. The deed, signed and notarized, stamped with my name, the lake belonged to me. Not to the HOA, not to the community, to me. By 8 a.m., I was standing on her porch, still fuming. She opened the door with that Stepford smile, chirping, "Trent, what a surprise." Her voice always had that robotic menu tone, press one to lose your sanity. "Why is there a no fishing sign on my lake?" I asked. No pleasantries. Oh, that she waved her hand like she was brushing crumbs off a table. "It's just a precaution. Liability concerns. We've had reports of children fishing unsupervised. On my property. Well, technically, it's within the visual domain of the neighborhood." I laughed out loud. Visual domain. That's not a legal term. "It's about community standards," she shot back, folding her arms, her smile sharpening. The board agrees. "You mean you agree? You see, I never got a vote." She tilted her head like she was humoring a child. "The board has the right to make emergency rulings without full votes. If you remove it, Trent, you'll be fined. $200 per violation." I swear, if I hadn't walked away at that moment, I might have said something that landed me in handcuffs. But inside, something clicked. She wanted a power game. Fine. But I wasn't about to play defense. That night, I drafted a notice, had it notarized. And before sunrise, I posted 6 copies around the neighborhood clubhouse door, pool gate, community dock, and yes, right beside her precious sign. The notice read, "Effective immediately. The private lake behind 112 Willow Creek Drive is closed to all swimming, boating, kayaking, and HOA events. Trespassers will be prosecuted. All informal permissions revoked." By morning, chaos. Neighbors clustered by the water, raising voices, snapping photos, calling each other, venting on Facebook. Greg the treasurer showed up, first clipboard in hand, looking like he'd just survived bad sushi. "You can't block access to the lake," he stammered. "I didn't block access," I told him calmly. "I revoked it. There's a difference. The lake's used for the annual summer splash. That's 2 weeks away. Not my problem. You'll throw off the budget, then rework it." He shuffled away like a deflated balloon. But the damage was done. By noon, I wasn't the cranky neighbor anymore. I was the villain of the Facebook group. Posts piled up. Does Trent think he owns the whole neighborhood? Did he just ruin Summer Splash for everyone? That stung. I'd lived here for 15 years. Cookouts, caroling Little League carpools, I wasn't some outsider. But suddenly I felt like one. I remember sitting on my porch, scrolling through the comments, feeling my stomach sink. Was I being selfish? Was I blowing this out of proportion? Maybe I should just let them have their events, ignore the sign, keep the peace. For a moment, I really thought about it. I even pictured myself apologizing, letting the lake go back to being community property, swallowing my pride for the sake of harmony. But then I looked up at that aluminum sign gleaming in the sun, drilled right into my land without permission. And something hardened in me. No, I wasn't crazy. I wasn't wrong. That's when Officer Delgado knocked on my door. Someone had filed a complaint about obstruction of public access. She had that calm cop demeanor, clipboard-ready eyes scanning like she'd seen it all before. I handed her my folder deed survey map, attorney letter. She flipped through, nodding slowly. "This is thorough." HOA doesn't have a leg to stand on. Then she asked the golden question. Did they drill into your property to post that sign? They did. She raised an eyebrow. That could be vandalism. You might want to talk to property crimes. I nearly laughed. The arrogance of Darlene might actually qualify as a crime. That little tip reignited something in me. This wasn't just about pride anymore. This was about justice. Within days, the neighborhood was buzzing louder than cicadas in July. People started connecting dots. Noel, the HOA secretary, even posted in the Facebook group. Wait, HOA doesn't control the lake. Did Darlene just make that rule up? Others chimed in about fines they'd got in wind chimes, hose reels, paint colors that no one remembered voting on. That's when I realized it wasn't just me. We'd all been living under Darlene's fake authority, and everyone had just been too polite, too compliant to push back. Until now. I organized a gathering at the community park. No agenda, no minutes, just residents. 40 people showed. I pinned the enlarged survey map to a poster board, held up my deed, and told the truth the HOA had overreached. They had no jurisdiction, and the sign was the proof. At first, silence. Then Janice from 3 streets over raised her hand. They fined me last year for a hose reel. I checked. That rule was never approved. Another neighbor muttered, they got me for non-regulation patio furniture. One by one, the stories poured out. It was like the floodgates opened. We formed a committee that night, a watchdog, really. We demanded records, meeting minutes, budgets, votes. Darlene tried to block us, but she was outnumbered. And then the paper trail surfaced almost 20 grand funneled into landscaping services tied to a shell company owned by her cousin. Fake invoices, sloppy receipts, money gone. I'll never forget the look on her face the day I confronted her with the evidence. She showed up at my door blazer on manila envelope in hand, trying to act composed. She offered an apology, asked to reinstate lake access if I'd just drop it. I didn't even open the envelope. I hit play on my phone. Her voice came out crystal clear from my earlier recording. If you remove it, you'll be fined. $200 per violation. Her smile faltered. I leaned forward. That audio's already with property crimes. Along with trail cam footage of your maintenance guy installing the sign at night. This wasn't a mistake. This was an abuse of power. For the first time, she didn't have a comeback. She just stood there silent, then stormed out. A week later, she resigned. Days after that, the treasurer followed, and then the cops got involved. Fraud, embezzlement, property damage. The empire of cardigans collapsed overnight. I didn't celebrate, didn't cheer. I simply walked to my garage, unbolted that stupid no fishing sign, and hung it on the wall. A reminder. Every Saturday, since I've gone back to the dock with my coffee and my tackle box, the water quiet again. Not because I won a petty fight, but because I refuse to let someone invent power where none existed. Never hand over your rights just because someone tells you they have them.